Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know, it's mid-June essentially, and here I am with my May reading wrap-up. I have 6 books that I read in May. We were pretty busy, pretty busy this past couple of weeks, so I knew it was going to take me a minute, and I kind of thought I'd be able to finish another book before the end of May. I don't know where that came from. That thought, gone. So I have 6 books to talk to you about. The first 4 that I have to talk to you about are actually all a part of my first ever reading vlog. So if you have not seen it, it is my Instagram, Blindly Chooses My Reads. I'll put that down below. Definitely be sure to give that a watch. But I'm going to kind of go over those rather quickly because I went into more in depth in that particular video. But seriously, give it a watch because I'm currently in the middle of 3 reading vlogs and I'm hoping that you guys enjoy them. Well, at first I read Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This is the first in the Ruinous Love trilogy. I was really excited for this one because I felt like the entire premise of this was very much so up my alley. This is about 2 people who are serial killers and they are romantically entangled while also competing in some sort of like serial killer-esque game together, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to like that. And I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. I ended up giving this a 3 stars, and I have decided I'm not going to continue with this series. I think the second book just recently came out. It's called Leather and Lark. This just wasn't for me. I thought the whole premise was very cool. Like I said, it seemed very up my alley, but I just felt like it was very insta love, but also all of the kind of love story was off page. So you meet them initially, they kind of like geek out over each other. They're vigilantes, so they're not like bad. I don't know if that word can even be described, but they're vigilantes, they geek out over each other, and then the time jump, it just happens and we're like a few months later and they're like talking every day, and we don't get to see that on page. And I feel like the story would have really thrived with that romance being presented on page and not being so kind of in the shadows. So I feel like I would have liked it a little bit more if that had happened. The chemistry between the 2 characters was really good, and I felt like the more sort of smutty scenes were very good. I don't know, I just felt like it wasn't all presented to me in the way that I would have preferred, and I just decided ultimately that this wasn't a series for me. I'm sure it's going to end up being a great series. A lot of people really enjoy this, but for me this was just a 3 star. Next I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This is by Toshikazu Kawaguchi and it's translated by somebody else. It's translated from Japanese by Jeffrey Trosselot. I have been wanting to read this book for such a long time, so I was really excited when Instagram blindly chose this book for me. It's one of those that I've just been kind of letting sit rot necessarily on my TBR, and after reading it, I'm really upset that I let that happen because this was an instant 5 stars for me. I already want to pick up all of the other books in the series, and I feel like they're going to become sort of comfort books for me. And this one, you're following 4 different stories. You're following a story about the lovers, a story about husband and wife, the sisters, and mother and child. And throughout those 4 stories, you're learning about this cafe where when someone comes in, they can travel back in time, but there's a ton of rules, and the main rule is that you can only be back in time until your coffee gets cold. And I feel like it was told so perfectly throughout all 4 of these stories because you're able to pick up on all of the rules, understand what happens if you don't follow them, and I loved it. The stories were so great. I feel like these stories will resonate with a lot of people, and I feel like I personally loved the last one, the mother and child. I got very misty-eyed during it, and it was really emotional for me. So I feel like lovers, sisters, like if you read these and you have any sort of tie to any of these stories, you're really going to like them. I really like this. I like I said, I think it's going to be a comfort series for me. I feel like if I'm ever feeling down, I'm just going to pick it up or pick up the next one. This is so good. If you have this sitting on your TBR and you've just been putting off, please, this is your sign. Pick this one up. It is so good. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, 5 stars. It was amazing. Oh, my next book I'm so excited to talk to you about. It was my May Book of the Month pick. If you're not signed up for Book of the Month, I'll put my referral link down below. I'm pretty sure with my referral link I can put a $5 or get your first book for $5 coupon as well, so definitely be sure to check that out. This was my May pick. The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I'm a huge fan of Christina Lauren, and I saw this book and it gave me very Unhoneymooners vibes, which I loved by them. So I knew I needed to have it. This was amazing. Another 5 star for me. I don't know if maybe I was just really in the mood for romance, but I ate this one up. It was so good. So in the story, you're following Anna and West, and Anna and West got married out of like basic necessity back in college, so that way they could both have housing together, but they didn't really know each other. They just got married and just kind of went on their ways, signed the divorce papers when they graduated, or so Anna thought, and West, you know, they moved on. So Anna's a struggling artist, really going through it, not having a ton of money. West is basically the heir of a major grocery chain, and he reaches out to her and is like, hey, by the way, we didn't actually get divorced, and I really need you to come with me to be my fake wife, fake date, fake wife for my sister's wedding on this like Singapore island. And she's like, okay, because he's willing to pay her. And it was so great. I love all the tropes in this book, the fake dating, the one bed. I loved the family, even though they were definitely, somebody said this in a video, they give you very Succession vibes, which they absolutely did. I like, now that I'm like, when someone said that, I immediately just started picturing that. But it was so good. I loved all the tropes in this. This was such a good, fun summer romance. Like I said, I ate this one up. Christina Lauren, they just know how to do it for me, and it was in dual POV, which is another thing I love in romance, is when you get the male point of view and the female point of view. It just really does something to me, so I loved this. Everything I needed, 5 stars. It was amazing. Oh, this one gives me such like... this was also in that reading vlog. This is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This was my last Only One Left, if you shall, of my Riley Sager backlog reading, which, by the way, middle of the night comes out next week. I'm so excited. I was really excited for this one because everyone hypes this one up, and this one was such a disappointment for me, which is so rough to say because I love Riley Sager. I ended up giving it a 3.5, and I will say, loved the premise of this, loved the initial storyline. We're following Kit McDeer, who is like a home health aide, and she is assigned to go work for Lenora Hope. And Lenora Hope is sort of an infamous older woman in the neighborhood who everyone claims to have killed her entire family, and now has just become a recluse in her house on this like cliffside manor, and no one's seen her. She's become like a schoolyard chant, everyone's scared of her. And Kit needs to go and be her home health aide. And so she gets there, and Lenora cannot talk, can't really move her body, she's paralyzed, but she can move her left hand and she can work well with a typewriter. So she tells Kit on like the first night, do you want to know the real story? And Kit's like, abso-friggin-lutely, as would everyone else, right? So you're following this in different timelines, which is something Riley Sager tends to do a lot. You're following the real story of Lenora Hope and what happened with her and her family, and then you're following Kit as she's discovering creepy things about this mansion and discovering more backstory and stuff like that. Like I said, the first half of this really got to me. It felt very ghost story-esque. I really liked it. It started to initially remind me of The House Across the Lake, which I really liked from Riley Sager, and then it just kind of took a turn, and then another turn, and then another turn, and then another turn, and then we're just twisting and turning all around, and there was just way too many twists in this book. I love a good twist. I love a good multi-twist. Like, I'm down for that. But this was so much. It was just way too much for me, and I was really frustrated with it. And I felt like because this was like the final of the Riley Sager books that I've read, I kind of figured when he would mention things at the beginning, like, why would you mention that? That's so random that you mentioned that. It sticks in your brain, and then you're like, well, I called that one, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure if you've not read any Riley Sager before, if this is like your second or third, or if you're into thrillers, you're going to like this. It's very, very good. I was just disappointed because I felt like I could call all the twists, and if I couldn't call them, it would have been better. But I'm disappointed, but also happy that I read it because the backstory was great, and I would recommend this. Like, I feel like my husband would really like this, so 3.5, unfortunately. Oh man, I fear we are going down a disappointment rabbit hole here. I had my first ever Aardvark book club pick, which I've been wanting to subscribe to the Aardvark book club for a really long time, and they have a lot of really great horror picks, and I saw that they had Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes, so I was like, sold, I'm getting it. So this was my first Aardvark book of the month. Ghost Station, S.A. Barnes. If you recall, if you've been following me for a while, Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes was my life last year. It was like one of my favorite top 5-star reads last year. I actually had my husband reading it right now because I am obsessed with it. Sci-fi horror. It was amazing. So I was so excited to see another release from S.A. Barnes called Ghost Station. Remember what I said about disappointments? Y'all, I was so disappointed in this. It was not good. I ended up giving it a 2-star, and I feel like even that was like me being a little bit gracious. Oh, this was so frustrating. So this one you're following Dr. Ophelia Bray, and she is kind of like a psychologist that follows these people that develop this disease essentially called ERS, where they're out in space. They get these like unalive type thoughts, and she's there to kind of help it because it's a contagion. Like, it's a contagious disease, and it follows like the whole crew. So she's out with this crew where this woman it happened to, and she's just kind of monitoring everybody to make sure everybody's okay. We're out in space. They're like, okay, we're doing this mission. We need to go to this station and like discover stuff, whatever. And it turns like not great. It turns into a ghost station. It turns a little spooky and haunty and good in that sense. But I felt like the pacing of this was like not even slow. We're just like creeping. It was like a creeping pace. The pacing of this was so slow, like beyond slow. And then when you finally get to like the climax of the story, the actual like meat and potatoes of the story, it's like, that's it. Like, okay, like I mean it makes sense, I guess, with sci-fi horror. I didn't love this. I didn't love it at all. If you've read this and you've also read Dead Silence, please let me know your thoughts if you loved this, because I feel like maybe I'm in the minority. I don't know. I haven't checked reviews since I read it. I was so excited for this, and man, did it just bum me out. We did end the month with an absolute banger. I have a 4-star here. This is Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shawnee McGuire. This is the 9th book, y'all. The 9th book. I'm officially caught up in the Wayward Children series. I've talked about the Wayward Children series a bunch from Shawnee McGuire. It's just like short, cute little novellas. Gives me very like fantasy vibes. You're following these kiddos who go through doors and discover lands, and then sometimes you're on Earth when the kiddos get kicked from their doors or come back somehow, and they're all together in the school, the Wayward School for Children. I feel like I can't really even explain what this book is about without spoiling the rest of the series. This one, though, was super good. As you can see, there's dinosaurs on the cover, so we definitely do go to a dinosaur world, which was pretty cool, actually. And I actually do think they just announced the 10th book's name, let me tell you, because it's just been saying Wayward Children number 10 for a while, and I'm really excited about it. Adrift in currents clean and clear. All right. And I read the premise too, and we're following a character that we like kind of met a while ago. Anyways, this one we're following a gang of characters, a bunch of people you know, a bunch of people that you are kind of meeting, and then one person that was in the last book that I'm obsessed with. Her name is Ancy. I loved her story. The Lost in the Moment and Found is by far my favorite so far in the Wayward Children series. It's amazing. This one is equally as amazing. However, I will say in this book, I kind of see where Shawnee McGuire is going, and I kind of see her way to finishing this series, and that makes me so sad because I would read 50 of these. Like, you could make this a 70-part series, and I'm here for these little kids going into these worlds and going on adventures and misadventures. Like, I'm just down for it. It can be spooky, it can be fun, it can be whimsical, it can be cute, it can be all of the things. Like, that's literally what this series is to me, and I love it so much. So that's all I'll say, because it's the 9th book in a series. I don't want to spoil too much. Just please read this series. I'm so serious. It's so good. I don't know if y'all can hear, but husband's downstairs making some dinner, and I'm pretty excited. So that is all 6 of the books that I read this month. Like I said, these first 4 are in a reading vlog, so I'll link that down below. This one is in an upcoming reading vlog. I go into that in a little bit more depth. This one's not. This one's just me having a good time. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it's up a little bit later than I would like it to be. I feel like I accomplished a lot this month, and I'm really proud. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.